Hi, everybody. This is Tommy Lasorda. Listen to The Sandlot, the best thing that could happen to you.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Are you crying?
It's a part of our past, Ray.
There's no crying.
It reminds us of all that once was good.
There's no crying in baseball.
Just a bit outside.
Baseball will be very, very good to me.
It's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball.
Personally, I think we got hosed on that.
The Sandlot Radio Network is on the air. And now, starting pitcher for the Sandlot, former pro player and Major League scout, Ted Howard.
This is National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
Derek Jeter, New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome to the Sandlot Radio Network podcast Down Under, coming to you from the suburbs of Sydney, Australia, Sylvania, New South Wales. The Sandlot is where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. The Sandlot is presented by Terramar Collective and sponsored by Grit Sports Collective, Guzman y Gomez, Freestyle Pools Sydney, and the Sandlot Radio Network. You can tune into the Sandlot every weekend on Sirius XM Radio MLB Network podcast platform and on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Pandora, Apple Music, and Simplecast. Last week's Sandlot Down Under podcast featured the executive board from the Cronulla Sutherland Junior Baseball Association, including President Mike Turner and co-vice presidents Nathan Fuzz and Ryan Castillo. We also had our Guzman y Gomez Sandlot Champion Character of the Week, young Finn Stevens. This week's Sandlot features a wrap of the World Series with the former Major League player, now broadcaster for MLB Network, Rockies TV, and Apple TV. He has been the color guy for the international broadcast of the World Series the last 3 years, and a regular guest host on the Sandlot. We have Ryan Spilborghs. We also have a legend in Australian baseball, the owner of Gary White's Diamond One Baseball Shop. We have the one and only Gary White. Yeah, that's Whitey. We're going to start off with Ryan Spilborghs and his recollection of this year's World Series, probably one of the best in the history of the game. We're with former Major League player turned broadcaster guru, Ryan Spilborghs. Spilly, thanks for being a guest on the Sandlot Down Under version of the Sandlot Radio Network.
I love it, TP. How are you? You look great.
I feel like $100 Canadian right now, which means I'm doing all right. A lot of camps, and I just turned 60, Spilly, so for me to get out there every night and demo a figure four pop-up and diving back to first on a pickoff when we have an extended lead, I'm still pulling that off and not hurting myself, so I must be doing okay.
Yeah, you're doing just fine. If you're not blowing out at practice, then I'd say you're still in good shape.
Thanks, buddy. Let's talk about, you do Rockies TV, you do MLB Network Radio on XM. You also do Apple TV, Rockies TV, but what you just did for the playoffs, because that's an extension of all this other stuff that I just mentioned.
Yeah, so, during the regular season, I have essentially 3 separate gigs. So Rockies TV, where I cover the Rockies as their color guy and sideline analyst. Apple TV, which I do for 26 weeks on Apple TV. That's every Friday night, and we do a national game. And then I have my radio show on the Sirius XM platform called Loud Out. So we're on 2 to 5 Eastern, and during the regular season, I'm on that show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then in the off season, I'm back at it. So I was doing it, all week this week, 2 to 5 Eastern. But during the postseason, it's kind of fun for me because Sirius XM, we do a pregame show on field. So it's like a BP show where we're on the field. And this year I covered the American League Championship Series. So it's my 9th season doing a CS. And I've seen some unbelievable moments. I've been on the field for clinchers as teams are going to the World Series. I've been on the field for World Series as a team wins it for Sirius XM. So this year, I was doing the Seattle Mariners Toronto Blue Jays series. So we travel not with the teams on their plane, but we basically travel, cover it. So it's a lot of work. And then you're on the field, and we're interviewing Cal Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez and every player, every team, every executive for the length of the series. And then that's all on Sirius XM. It was super fun. right? Like, and I learned so much from talking to players, watching the game, and then this is also my third year of doing, after the championship series, working for MLB Network International. So we do the international feed, or what, like basically the feed that wasn't in North America. So Fox has North America. You had TSN had Canada. Last year we were in Canada when it was Yankees Dodgers. This year TSN had it. So, and then NHK has Japan. So when you talk about some of the numbers that we witnessed with the World Series, I know we're going to get into it. Game 7 had over 100 million viewers for Game 7.
Wow.
100 million.
Is that an all-time record, Billy?
Oh yeah, it's not even close. It's not even close. So this World Series was just great. And so for me, I'm on the television side, so no longer radio, for the World Series, and I work with Dave Fleming. And Dave is the play-by-play voice of the San Francisco Giants, and he is such a pleasure to work with. So doing this feed, like I said, it's been 3 years. My first one was Diamondbacks Rangers in 2023. Last year was Yankees Dodgers, and then this year I got the pleasure of doing probably one of the greatest World Series in the history of the game, and it was really fun. And I think it's really important, TP, when you're covering baseball, to like really cover it. So I felt fortunate having that chance to do the SiriusXM show for for basically the Blue Jays run to the World Series, because I saw everything. I saw every pitch. There was no, I was a part of it. I saw it. So I saw the heartbreak of a Mariners fan. I was in the crowd when George Springer hits the 8th inning 2-run go-ahead homer. I watched Jeff Hoffman strike out the side. I'm on the field, interviewing the players seconds after they just clinched and went to the World Series. And when you're listening to me on the World feed with Dave Fleming, you get to hear that information, because I literally saw it. I saw the whole thing, so there was no faking it. Just like Fox's feed, like Joe Davis and John Smoltz, they were on the American League Championship Series too. So when we talk about people that are witnessing the game and like fully entrenched and in the weeds, I'm proud to say that the part of the reason why the numbers were so big was that the coverage was so good all around. Like the coverage was fantastic for the World Series.
And we have a player like Shohei Ohtani who has brought a whole new world of baseball audience to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think yes and no, because Japanese baseball, I played there. Japanese baseball, like, until you've gone to Japan, you have no idea how crazy their fandom is. Like, it goes back to the Sawamura Award, which I don't know if you even know what the Sawamura Award is. It's their baseball Cy Young, and Sawamura was a baseball player when he was 17. He struck out Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and I believe there was somebody else in there that's all Hall of Famer. So it was a Japanese kid striking out, Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. And then he died during World War II, was a pilot. So passed away as a pilot. And so like Japanese baseball has been historic for a long time. And they love American baseball, right? Like there's just a connection to it. So you think about the Hideo Nomo and what it meant for Hideo to come to the States, and then Ichiro and being the best player in baseball. And now you've graduated to Shohei Ohtani, who I don't think it's a debate, but I think is the greatest player that's ever lived, especially given his skill set. He's pitching and hitting at the same time, which Babe Ruth never did. Babe could only pitch or hit. There's even articles like from the 1920s where he talks about, like, I don't know how you could pitch and hit at the same time. It's physically impossible. So Ohtani's doing that. But what the Dodgers have done, and maybe what brought this World Series the attention, is that you had Canada in the World Series for the first time since 93. Guerrero is like an international superstar with last name Guerrero because his dad's a Hall of Famer. You have this Dodgers super team with Ohtani kind of marqueing it, but Yoshinobu Yamamoto is the highest paid pitcher in baseball. He's incredible. You have this kid in Roki Sasaki, which was a prized possession. So you built this Japanese super team like a basketball, like the Heat or the Lakers or the Celtics, and you just have this international flair to this World Series that we haven't had in a long time. Like, we really haven't. You had players from Dominican, you had players from Mexico, you had players from all over the world and, highlighted by 3 of the best Japanese players and the love that Japan has for their players and the pride. So it was great. And I think everybody wanted to see the Dodgers lose.
Yes,
so you had that element too.
Yeah.
I mean, like it just had every ingredient you needed to get over 100 million people to watch Game 7.
Well, here's another way of looking at it. When I interviewed Tommy Lasorda after he won a gold medal in Sydney during the 2000 Olympics, he said it was the greatest moment in his baseball life because when he managed the Dodgers and they won the World Series, there was at that time 25 other teams that hated the Dodgers and all their fans hated the Dodgers. But when you win a gold medal for your country, then the whole country is pulling for you instead of just Dodger Nation. It was the same thing with the Blue Jays being in it. All of Canada united to pull for the Blue Jays. And whereas here it was, Dodger fans were pulling for the Dodgers. But everybody else in America that doesn't like the Dodgers, they wanted them to lose. So there was a lot riding on this World Series. And like you said, the international flavor and just the way it turned out, the excitement that came from an 18-inning game, from an 11-inning game, from a complete game in the playoffs from a pitcher. When was the last time we saw that? And just to have somebody dominate like Yamamoto did in all 3 of his outings, we haven't seen something like that either.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we saw like domination, back-to-back games, what Yamamoto did in Game 2, he was the first pitcher since Kurt Schilling back in 2001 to go back-to-back complete games. And then, to pitch in Game 6 and then 7, the last pitcher you'd see doing that was Randy Johnson. He did that in Game 7 of 2001. So you had to go like 24 years to find it. And then as far as like overall dominance from a pitcher standpoint, with 3 wins in the World Series, because that's what Yamamoto ended up having was 3 wins. You look at Madison Bumgarner in 2000 and I think it was 14, and what he did to the Kansas City Royals. Like he single-handedly beat the Royals. So we have these like historical pitching performances, but Yamamoto falls in line with, Mad Bum of 2014, Bob Gibson of 1968, with the Cardinals. He had 3 wins there. Like those are the guys. Those are like it's not a long list. No. It's small. It's like a handful. And for me, like I've never witnessed that. I didn't think Yamamoto was even going to be able to play catch after Game 6 because he was like grabbing his arm, and then we heard before Game 7 because I'm in the manager's office with Dave. The Yamamoto was throwing his javelins outside. I was like, what? And we asked her like, hey Dave, is Yamamoto available to you today? And he said Yamamoto said he was available. And we're like, how is that physically possible? Because Game 6 ended at like 11:30 at night Eastern time. And this is literally less than 24 hours later after throwing 90-plus pitches in the World Series, which that stress is so much different than a regular season game. And he's already pitched a complete game. Like, it doesn't make sense. I've never seen it. I mean, you go to, some of the Blue Jays guys, when they saw Yamamoto going out there, they couldn't believe it. The pitchers that were, that pitched the day before, they're like, wait, how is he even physically capable of pitching after, less than 24 hours of rest? And then to give you 2 2/3, it wasn't like he pitched one batter. Yeah. He would have gone out for more. So I think for me, witnessing that single-handed performance is the greatest I've ever seen. Me personally, at a postseason or during the World Series, that is the greatest pitching performance I personally have ever witnessed a pitcher do.
Hi, this is Todd Helton, and I still listen to The Sandlot.
This is Ryan Braun from the Milwaukee Brewers, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
This is Nate McLeod, National League All-Star with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
This is Mike Cameron from the Milwaukee Brewers, and I'm still listening to The Sandlot.
I think I'll go on and walk about and find out what it's all about.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico, over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG. Crunchy cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life. Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Mundy, former Major League player, former All-Star, and now broadcaster with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're tuned in exactly where you need to be. It's Sandlot, and it's baseball.
Talking baseball, the man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque.
Especially Shohei, Mookie, and the Judge. We're with our Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast champion character of the week. He's JoJo Hutt. JoJo, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
By being the champ of the week, sponsored by Guzman y Gomez, you're going to get a really cool gift certificate from there, plus a Sandlot Radio Network t-shirt.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Champ of the week is the guy that's coachable, has honor, has a positive mental attitude. He tends to mentor other kids. He perseveres through the tough times, and he's a good sportsman. And JoJo, I got to say, I've witnessed your growth in baseball and physically over the last 3 years, and you fit the bill of a Sandlot champ.
Thank you.
What was it about baseball that you really loved when you started playing as a little kid, and why did you choose it over all the other sports?
Probably just because how competitive baseball is, and also I like doing niche things in Australia. So yeah, and baseball's like not as big as it is over in the States, so pretty good to play it. I just love baseball, everything about it. So yeah.
Who are your favorite major league teams that you follow?
Dodgers, obviously, because they're the best. But yeah.
Does that have anything to do
probably
with
Freddie Freeman?
Because Pete's a big fan, and Pete's been kind of a mentor, baseball mentor of yours for a number of years now.
Yeah, probably because of Pete, to be honest.
Pete's he's a pretty diehard Dodger fan. He even named his dog Kershaw. So
sure.
The Dodgers, of course, they won it again this year, and it was an unbelievable World Series. And who are the players on that team that you admire, that you look up to and want to be like?
Oh, in that series, in Game 7, definitely Miguel Rojas. He was crazy. Talk about like a veteran presence and someone just going out there, like everything on the line in the ninth inning and just managing to get it done. It's just crazy. Yeah, didn't have the best season this year, but just in those clutch moments. Definitely Freddie Freeman as well. His walk-off in the 18th inning was pretty good.
I'm glad you said Miggy because he's kind of overshadowed by all the superstars, but he's a dog in the wheel that turns the Dodgers. And, you know, I've been down very close on the field, and I see the joy that he brings to the game every day. Like, he loves being there.
Yeah.
He appreciates every second. And I'm glad you said Miggy because it'd be pretty easy to say Yamamoto or Ohtani, you know, and even Mookie, just because there's the big names. But, man, Miggy stepped up big time, and it was really cool to see that. You're playing a lot of baseball right now. You're playing for Cronulla under 18s and all the grades. But you also came through and you played with the Cubs in the park ball with Pete. And you've gone to America and played in a couple of really pivotal tournaments that kind of gave you a chance to see what the competition's going to be like when you go away to college, because you're a guy that's going to go and play college baseball.
100%, yeah.
It's time to start looking, too, at the areas of the country that you want to be in and the type of program that you want to be in. And you can set your sights high at the D1 and all that, but you also have to be realistic about the possibility of playing in JUCO for a couple of years, just because that's kind of the way it is right now with this new portal thing that the coaches have the ability to draw players from.
Yeah.
So at this point, JoJo, it's time to turn up the notches, turn it up a notch and try to get looking at colleges. And strength and conditioning are huge for you at this point.
Yeah.
You're getting the skills.
Definitely something. Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of getting stronger.
100%. Yeah, definitely something I've been focusing on, especially the past 2 years, just getting stronger, eating more, putting on weight. As well as every other aspect of my game, but that's something I really need to focus on.
Well, I'm glad that you have a focus. I'm glad that you have a plan, because it really does take that to compete and to go out there and earn yourself a scholarship. But you're the type of guy I know is going to do the work, and that's one of the reasons you're the Sandlot Champion Character of the Week by Guzman Y Gomez.
Easy, thank you.
Last thing, man, 3 years in a row you've helped me do camps, and I've seen you grow. I've seen you get taller. I've seen you get stronger and faster. But the camp stuff is really good because you get to see, when you go to teach the game to little kids, you start to understand it better and you start to become better at it yourself. So I think it's been instrumental in your development, just being there and helping with camp.
Definitely, 100%, yeah.
He's JoJo Hutt. He's our Sandlot Champion Character of the Week. JoJo, I want to just thank you so much for being a great kid, working hard, always persevering, and having a vision that you're going to do something special in this game. So thanks for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Thanks for having me, Ted.
We're with Ryan Spilborghs. He's been to all these playoffs and World Series, down on the field, interviewing the players before, during, after, and giving us a perspective that a lot of us don't get. And for you to be able to be that close, what a thrill. And for this particular World Series especially, let's talk about the 18-inning game, because for me, knowing that Shohei got 4 hits and walked 5 times, he's on base 9 times. He's going to pitch the next day. Right away, I was thinking he's overtaxed. It's going to be really hard for him to have a high-level performance the next day on the mound. That night, because it went deep and late.
Yeah, so Game 3 is an all-time game. Like, they could write a book about it. You know, the fact that in order to beat Ohtani, his record now, you got to get on base 10 consecutive times. It's not going to happen. In a game. And we kind of chatted, like, if you look at the game log for Ohtani at Dodger Stadium, you go to the previous game before, and that's where he hit all the homers against the Brewers. So it was essentially like homer, walk, homer, double, homer, walk. Like, it wasn't just 9 straight at bats in Game 3. You can go before it. He was 3 for 3. I think with 3 homers. So
and a walk. Yeah.
So in 2 games he had 5 home runs. I mean, come on. So you can reflecting on Game 3 and the individual performances and kind of the mistakes from the Blue Jays as far as like putting certain players into the game, taking guys out. That game was legendary, right? We saw Clayton Kershaw pitching that game, and we know Kershaw's going to retire. Now he's retired as a champion again. It was a fun game. It was draining. It was like all these games. I mean, I could go back and try to rank which my favorite game was. The Game 3 is an all-timer. I mean, for length of game, how it ended. Freddie Freeman's the only player in the history of baseball to have 2 walk-off homers in the World Series. I mean, all of this stuff. I mean, it was cool. And it was I think what I experienced with this World Series was that was a once-in-a-lifetime World Series, and we got to do it.
One thing I can say about the rule change, at one point, there was a period of time, a couple years ago, when even in the playoffs and the World Series, in extra innings, we were putting that runner on second base. And they took that away, and I'm so glad they did. We would have never seen an 18-inning game. We would have never seen an 11-inning game in Game 7 if they had gone back to that rule that is the most ridiculous rule that I've ever seen put into the game.
So you don't like that rule? I like the extra inning rule for regular season. I also think there should be
season. Yes, maybe just because we don't want to go 18 innings in a regular season. But think about the fans that basically you got 2 tickets for the price of 1. They saw 2 ball games that night.
Yeah, I love extra baseball. I'm never going to complain about extra inning baseball. I mean, it's fun because you don't know who the hero is going to be. The one problem that you have with a game like that, especially in the World Series, it's probably something baseball will eventually look at, is roster construction, because you're forced to maintain the same roster throughout the World Series. I think the concern here is what we like to call like a moral hazard. In order to win a World Series or to win these games, you got to put pitchers in a position like Yamamoto, right? Like Yamamoto did something that you shouldn't be doing. You know, like you're at the youth level. You wouldn't recommend that to any child.
No.
Right? Let alone a high school player, a college player, professional player. Fortunately for Yamamoto, he's made his money and he's competing. But there's a moral hazard to what happens if Yamamoto never pitches again for the Dodgers because his arm blows out. Louis Varland pitched in 14 of the 18 games that the Blue Jays are in. What happens if Louis Varland blows out? You go to the extra inning games. Like Will Klein had never thrown more than 35 pitches in a game, and he throws 70. So you put these players in a position where there's like in order to win, you got to morally choose winning over the player. And that's the problem. And if you can get to a place where there are some roster changes where you can get, you can make an additional roster move to get a healthy pitcher so you're not putting somebody in jeopardy, that would be nice. That would be nice for the sake of the player's career. So I just think that there needs to be some consideration for that, especially if we're not going to change the extra inning rules. Just saying, like, in those circumstances, I hope baseball eventually makes a change to allow healthy arms to come in so we don't worry about the risk of injury.
Now, you mentioned the unsung heroes, the guys that when you do have those extra inning games, you just don't know who the hero is going to be. And it turned out to be one of my favorite Dodgers just because of who he is on and off the field. Miggy Rojas, he got an opportunity. He came through in every opportunity that he had, and he made an impact that was game-changing and series-changing each time that he had an opportunity. And I was so happy for him and his family.
Yeah, so this one was cool because Dave Roberts probably doesn't get enough credit for his ability to manage, baseball games. Like, I think people often overlook Dave because he's managing the Dodgers. But what Dave did was Game 6, before it, he wanted to put Miguel Rojas in the lineup. And Miguel did not have a start in any of the previous 5 games. He didn't have a start. And Dave wanted to go down. If the Dodgers were going to go down, he wanted Miguel Rojas at least to play in that game. Kind of calls him heartbeat of the team. And he felt that, in the case of Miguel Rojas, and I found it like it was a cool way to describe it because I asked him, I was like, hey, Dave, what makes you choose from a characteristic standpoint a guy like Miguel Rojas to play in this end of the year game, right? Like you lose, you go home. And he says, because Miguel Rojas, in all the years that he's played, he's felt pain, like true pain of defeat. He's not like a first-year player, like a Trey Savage, who's never felt true pain at that time. So he doesn't know. He's oblivious to it. Some young players have never felt true pain. What does it feel like to have your heart ripped out? And Dave says Miguel Rojas gets it. He understands the magnitude of it, and that's why he wanted to put him in the game. And if Miguel Rojas wasn't in the game in Game 6, Dodgers lose Game 6. Miguel Rojas had 3 crazy defensive plays. Took a quality at bat, and then of course Game 7. Miguel Rojas is back in there, hits this slider on a 3-2 pitch, and for a guy that I think he's going to announce his retirement soon, that's how you want to end it. End it on that note. And he wouldn't have been there without the direction of Dave Roberts and the gut feel that he had.
That's a beautiful thing. And I saw this thing where his wife had told him that he was going to hit a home run in the World Series, and he laughed at her and said, I'm not even playing. There's no way I'm going to hit a home run. And then on the 7th game, she told him before that game, you're going to hit a home run. And I'm just going to try to put the bat on the ball. And sure enough, hey, that was a tough pitch. That wasn't a hanging slider. That was a slider that was going away, and it was an outside third. Usually you don't pull that ball, but he got the barrel down there and hooked it. And as soon as it hit the bat, I knew that it was out of the park. And I felt what he was feeling when he rounded the bases and the joy of that moment for him.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I felt it too. I'm certainly not, especially in the position I was sitting in. I grew up a Dodgers fan, but I'm not a Dodgers fan anymore. I'm just not, because I've been competed against them. I'd look at them completely different than I did. I'm not in the organization. I have great friends in the organization. But I felt that moment for Miguel Rojas, because you could imagine that whether you're a Dodger fan or a Giants fan or a Rockies fan, whatever, you feel for the veteran player that got a chance to shine in that spotlight. You feel for somebody that, those World Series moments are hard to come by. You're almost often, more of a, you're like the reason why a team loses more than you're a reason why the team wins when you're, hitting 8th or 9th in the lineup. So that was a great moment. I mean, really, it was a special baseball moment that a lot of people witnessed and will remember forever.
Some guys are built for this time of the year, and Kike Hernandez did not have a good year for the Dodgers, but they relied on him in the playoffs. He came through in big moments and made big plays when it counted. That play that he made when he threw it to Miggy in the dirt and Miggy picked it to end that game, I don't think he actually saw that ball because I watched it over and over, and his eyes were not connecting the glove and the ball. He was looking at it.
He said that.
He said that
He said it was lost in the lights.
Yeah, and he just had that instinct to put his glove where he thought it would be. And sure enough, he caught it and threw it on the run, probably a little too quickly because he made a bad throw. But, man, that's how good Miggy is. That might be one of the toughest picks that you can ever do, that throw right there.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, just like I said, the series was incredible. The defensive plays, Guerrero made some great plays. It was just a pleasure. It was a true pleasure to watch.
A couple of things I want to point out too. This Trey Savage was in low A, and then high A, then double A, then triple A, then in the big leagues, and then in the playoffs, and then a key factor in the World Series. So what a run for that young man. And like you said, he hadn't been in some of those situations before because he was in low A ball to start the season. But what a great story that is.
Yeah, I mean, there's 5 guys from last year's draft that have made an impact in the big leagues this year, like Nick Kurtz, who's going to win a Rookie of the Year, Trey Savage, who struck out 12 in a World Series. Trey Savage had more strikeouts in the World Series than he did in his regular season starts, just to give you some perspective. It's cool. It's cool to see that. Cam Smith with Houston, was not far removed from college baseball. There's a couple other guys Jack Caglione. I mean, it goes to show you, like, some of these players that are getting to the big leagues are refined out of college. And if you can pitch and throw strikes, or if you can hit and maintain, strike zone discipline, you can get to the big leagues quick.
Another thing I wanted to point out was Don Mattingly, 40 years in the game as a player, coach, manager, never had been to the World Series. He came so close, and one of the first things I noticed was the look of despair on his face when they did not win. And it's 40 years of so much on the line for him, but it was awesome for him to get there. But in a way, just because of that, I was pulling for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were. And now I'm hoping that Veterans Committee will vote Don Mattingly into the Hall of Fame. It was hard to watch. I mean, Blue Jays had more than enough chances to win the World Series. I mean, I still say that they were the better team over the Dodgers. They just didn't have Yamamoto. One Dalton Varsho split finger in the air would have won the World Series. As much as IKF, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, gets crushed for, not a great secondary lead. Blue Jays had many opportunities to put it away. So it wasn't one person specifically. It's not Jeff Hoffman's slider. It wasn't Shane Bieber's slider. Dodgers just stood tall and were able to win. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to see and hard to fathom, and it gives you, again, like, the realization that getting to the World Series is not an easy thing to do. I got to the World Series my first full season with the Rockies, and we never sniffed it. And I didn't play for the Yankees, and I didn't manage the Dodgers. That goes to show you, like, how hard it was for Donnie Baseball. So it was cool. I wish he would have won, but I mean, I think it would have been cool for all of Canada to win, just beyond Don Mattingly. It would have been nice for the Blue Jays to win it. But that's baseball. That's why we love it.
And in baseball, they call it a game of inches. And let's face it, the play at the plate, that's a game of inches. An inch further off on his lead, like you said, he didn't have a good secondary. He didn't have a real good lead to start. He's trying to be safe. They were playing safe instead of playing to win. That wasn't an aggressive play by the runner at third base. And then other plays that the ball that got caught under the fence, dude. We see that maybe a couple times a year where the ball gets lodged like that. And it happened in such an important time, and it changed the whole thing for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, so I mean, I've watched batting practice every day for the last 15 years. I've never seen a ball get lodged in BP like that. So it was a 1 in 10 million shot. It was unfortunate. It would have been triple. It's a heads-up baseball play again from the Dodgers. But that's baseball. I mean, that's still, like I've said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime World Series experience. And it doesn't surprise me that something like that happened.
Well, Spilly, I'm glad that you got to be there for such an amazing World Series, maybe the greatest of all time, at least in our lifetime, to be there up close and to share it with us. I really want to thank you for being a guest on the Sandlot Radio Network podcast Down Under. First time, been on a ton of radio shows, but first time on the Down Under podcast. And we're in Sydney, Australia, Sylvania Waters, a suburb of South Sydney, and it's beautiful. It's going into summertime here.
Sounds awesome. Thanks, TP. Thanks for having me on.
G'day, I'm Jake Burns, professional player for the Brisbane Bandits, and I listen to the Sandlot.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective. When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG.
Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
Hey everybody, this is Trevor Hoffman, a Hall of Famer and a San Diego Padre, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
We're with a true legend in Australian baseball, Gary White. Whitey, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot Down Under podcast.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure to be here.
And it wasn't even a far journey for you. I'm in Sylvania Waters. You're just up the road, so it was pretty easy to get you to come to the studio today.
Pretty easy, mate.
And we got history that goes way back to the the early 90s, because in the early days of the ABL, the first year Whitey didn't play because he had just gotten back from America.
Yeah.
The second year he was on a horrible Parramatta Patriots playing out there at Auburn, and somehow I convinced him to jump over to the Sydney Wave, and we had got pushed to Belmore Sports Ground. What a hole of a place that was to play baseball. And Whitey even helped us. We built these drain covers. Whitey built there must have been hundreds of them.
Oh yeah, down both sides of the football field. Yeah. So, I don't know.
And they were like 1 foot high raised wooden structures that just covered this gap, and they only could be about 3 feet long, so there was literally
there was a lot of them.
There was hundreds of them, and it was a weird job. But anyway, Whitey, let's talk about Sandlot days for Whitey back when you just were a little kid. You started playing this game at like 5. What drew you to baseball? I'm sure you're playing other sports, but why did you pick baseball over all the other sports? Because it's not, back then especially, it wasn't a huge sport here in Australia.
No. My dad played, and you're right, I started about 5 or 6. I think I was playing soccer with, I think my dad was the coach from what I remember. It was a soccer team with Canterbury. And he just, some other soccer guys had already played a year of T-ball. And we knew those guys through school. And then Dad just picked our soccer team up and took us to Canterbury baseball the next summer. And yeah, the rest is pretty much history.
So, but why did you have skills right out the gate where you knew, wow, I'm pretty good at this?
I'm not, like talking to my dad over the years, not really. He said you had to work for it, and, he was a hard worker, and yeah, we just pretty much from day dot, we were always doing something with baseball. So.
And how did you end up going to the United States for high school? Because that's something that hadn't happened a whole lot up until you did it.
Yeah, so playing at the national, like the AYC championships as they call them now, I'd had 13s, 15s, and then 2 years of 18s, and the Australian team travelled to the US. Two previous years prior to that, a guy from Victoria, Pete Davis, he'd been there, and then the next year it was Brett Roach, another Sydney guy, and yeah, he reached out to us. We were on a trip. We'd been gone for back in those days, we were travelling with the Australian team for 4 or 5 weeks, and we said we'll call through Detroit to see Brett on the way home, and I can still see it now. We were just sitting around, met the baseball coach at a dinner, and he looked across and said, "So do you want to come to school here?" I went, "Wow, okay, so I need to know by tomorrow." And we got back to the hotel late at night, and I remember calling my mum, and before she said, "How's it going?" She said, "Listen, I've been up to school today, and they're not going to give you any more time off for baseball." And I said, "Okay, well, that's made my decision. So, Mum, I'm going to come back to school here." And I came home for a week and a half, signed out of school, and got back on a plane. And yeah, I was gone for 18 months before I got back home.
So what was that like at such a young age to be in another country in the Midwest, upper Midwest? You got weather there too.
Yeah, so it was one of the best experiences of my life. I've still got friends that I keep in touch with from back in those days. Brett Roach, he made it easy, like having another Australian there, and then there was another guy that came from Victoria, Darren Sadlier. But yeah, look, I stayed with the family. It was an experience, like not having contact with as easy as it is these days with family back home. But I came home one night, I think it was after practice, and I had a note on my bed. I actually thought it was a letter from Mum, and the family had said, "Listen, you need to be gone by Friday. This isn't working out. We just don't want to do this anymore." I literally jumped back on my push bike and rode a couple of miles down the road to a friend from school's house, and said to her, "Listen, you mentioned you had the basement, and can I stay here until my dad gets here in a few weeks?" And I lived there for another 18 months, and yeah, still keep in touch on today. And it was a great experience. I mean, I tell people all the time, it's like some of the US high school movies you see, it's pretty much like that. Like, yeah, it's great. We were a bit of a standout like that. Back then, you'd tell them, I'm sure those guys still go over there and tell them now, but they've got a little more access to stuff. But, kangaroos deliver the mail, and Aussie drop bears, but yeah, they just believe it, mate. And it was good fun, really good experience.
Well, back then with no internet, nobody really knew anything about Australia. Any Americans, we didn't know. It was just mysterious, this magical place. Does it really even exist? And then you got an Aussie that you're going to high school with, and he's playing baseball with you. I know the cultural differences between New South Wales and the upper Midwest are so big, and even the school structure. School here and school there are like night and day.
Yeah, like my wife's a school teacher, but I remember I always, here I probably didn't like school that much, I was like C's and D's, and because I was always off playing baseball. But over there, as you know, you've got to pass to be eligible to play. So I went from C's and D's to A's and B's on honor roll because I wanted to get on that field. The weather in Detroit was pretty cold, but good experience, mate. Like, we had fun running through the snow, and get a call in the morning, say you snowed in, can't go to school. Like, that was, it was just different, but it was a great experience.
And because you played high school baseball, you had a chance to sign at a very young age a professional contract, and it was with the Phillies.
Yeah, so at high school I had two scholarship offers. One was in Michigan, and the other was at Florida Atlantic, which came through Pat Murphy back in those days. And yeah, I just had enough of the cold weather. I said to Dad, "Man, I've got to get out of here." So I went to Florida. By the time I actually got there to start, Pat had already moved on. And then I was there and getting ready to start the season. I came home at Christmas, and I think I was playing in Claxton Shield or something, but at Auburn, and one of the coaches walked out to me and said, "Hey, listen, there's a couple of scouts here from the Phillies. Do you want to go back to school, or would you rather go play?" I said, "Man, just let me go play. Like, I don't want to go to school." So yeah, that came about, and that was like '86, and yeah, went over there with the Phillies back then. So.
You were one of the first, because we had Shipley and we had Marino and we had Phil Dale. But you were one of the first Aussies to sign a pro contract. Yeah,
so I remember when I was there, first spring training with the Phillies, I think there was only, it was Phil, and Craig was definitely there, and Marino. But as we say, trying to get a hold of them and talk to those guys back then, I mean, most of those guys I looked up to when I was a kid, but you just couldn't contact them, and there was far and few between, and you'd hear, oh, there's another Aussie somewhere. I know who he is. They'd kind of shocked that you knew every baseballer that was over there. So,
and we have no information. If we're Australian, we have no information about baseball in America, college or high school.
No.
And so nowadays the kids can, they can FaceTime with their families. They can do all these things that keep them connected. But you just mentioned before we started that you'd write a letter. It'd take a couple weeks to get there. If the person at the other end immediately responded, within a month you would get a response.
You'd get a response, that's right. And, I mean, you'd think what happens in a month, how time travels so fast. So many more things that happen. But look, it was, that side of things was probably, you grew up fast. I still enjoyed it. At high school, I wouldn't have said I didn't really get too homesick, to be honest. But I had good people around me, good friends. And just loved being there playing and doing stuff at high school. So,
and let's face it, you really got better at the game after you had played for the Phillies. You got so much better because you're getting bigger, you're getting stronger, you're getting more at bats under your belt, you're seeing better pitching, and all of a sudden, Whitey's the type of guy that's winning MVPs of the ABL and sought after, because after 2 years of being in the ABL myself and having not very good catchers, I was like, I got to get a catcher. And so we did everything we could to lure Whitey from the Parramatta Patriots over to the Sydney Wave. In the second year of the wave over at Belmore, we finally get Whitey and caught every inning of every game of that season for me and had an unbelievable year. And that was just the start of it for you.
Yeah, like I look at, back in those days, all people wanted to do was go over there and play professional baseball. But, I think, and that went on for quite a few years, I think, and you probably agree, like, our guys here just haven't played enough. Yeah, we're fundamentally sound, we practice a lot, but you see guys that come back and, had 2 or 3 years in pro ball, and you get back here and then they turn 26 and 27 and they're playing in the ABL, whether it was the old ABL or this one, and all of a sudden they're switched on, they can play. I think we just haven't, the best years of our guys, if you go back and have a look, most of them, their best years were from the 27 to 32 year age group, which just, by then they'd played a lot more games. It's just starting to happen more now where they get to go and play at college and look at Travis Bazzano, mate. Like, he worked his butt off. And just by playing all those games prior to, the college season, I mean, it just makes so much difference. We need to play more, definitely. So.
Yeah, and there's some things going on that have made that happen, but it's at a very high cost. And unfortunately, it's not through just the ABA, the Baseball Australia. It's through these private entities that are giving kids more opportunities, and it's costly. But it's the same in the States. If you want to really be seen now in the States, you have to be on one of these travel ball clubs, and you got to go to showcases. Unless you've got unbelievable talent or somebody pulling for you, you really have to go out and compete. And now with this portal that they're dealing with, these kids are jumping ship every chance they get, and there's no loyalty. So I think Aussies are more loyal than that. They'll go and they'll play in a program for 4 years if they have the opportunity, just like Travis did.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, like, as you say, plenty of opportunities for kids to get over there and get in front of people. But it's at a pretty high cost, and with the dollar the way it is, and just the cost of living in Australia. Often, sometimes, as we spoke about before the show, how some of these families can afford to keep doing it. But I guess hats off to them. They're trying to give their kids every opportunity, which what mum and dad did for me. And you go back then. I mean, it was costly back then. I know when my dad passed away a few years back, I went through some of his paperwork, and he still had, which I showed New South Wales, he still had letters of what it cost to, go to AYCs and travel to the US. Back then it was like $3,500, and I don't know what it is to go to what they're charging the kids to go to the US, but even the AYC championships, it was $1,500, $2,000, and we're talking. Showing the age here, but we're talking early 80s, mate, then. It was a lot of money. They used to run, White Elephant stalls, Lamington drives, but, hats off to mum and dad. I wouldn't have got all the opportunities I did. And so, some of these parents that I'm sure they're feeling the same punch, but they're giving their kids a chance to go and play. So
it's not just the chance to play baseball, but it's the cultural experiences that
life experience, mate. As I say, the high school days for me, it was only 18 months, but in the US, some of the best memories of my life. It was just fun times, and I've all those years later, I still talk about it quite often. So it's a life experience that you, as my dad used to say, sometimes you'll never get that chance again. So take it while you can.
And the times that you got to spend there, not only was it about the education and the baseball, but the cultural experience and then the life experience that turns you into a person that goes out and competes for years and years, and also is able to have a business and run a business successfully. That all started with the character built by having enough wherewithal to leave it at 16 years old, leave home, and write a letter every 2 weeks and hear back once a month.
Yeah, as I say, great life experience. Friends like yourself, mate, we've met all these years ago, and there's many more out there, and it just leads to life experiences, and getting into business and still having all those contacts, whether it's overseas or here through baseball, like guys I looked up to and then got to play with sometimes, and then they end up being coaches. So it's just been baseball's been my life, and I want to give back as much as I can wherever I can. I'm blessed to be able to play the game and still be involved in it. So.
He's an Australian Baseball League Hall of Famer. He's Gary White. We're going to take a quick break, but we have more from Whitey when we return to the Sandlot podcast down under in Sylvania Waters, New South Wales, Australia. Whitey, thanks for sticking around.
No worries, man.
Hey, this is Mark Dollymore here, representative of Cronulla Baseball back in the day. Proud member to be on the Sandlot Baseball show today. I hope you enjoyed what you heard and just live on it. Keep going on, keep trying hard, all the best.
Do you want more than just wins for your kids? Do you want confidence, character, and grit? At Grit Sports Collective, we help young athletes play with purpose and train with passion. With elite coaching in baseball and basketball, we're building more than skills, we're building competitors. Because greatness starts with mindset and is earned through sweat. Grit Sports Collective. Play fierce, train harder. Now enrolling in San Diego, California. Visit gritsportscollective.com and sign up today.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG. Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life. Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
It was pretty much decided for me to play baseball when I was born.
The Sandlot's where it all starts, doesn't it?
I wasn't big than everybody. I just threw harder.
It doesn't take any talent to hustle.
If you don't pull for the Dodgers, there's a good chance you may not get into heaven.
Something happening here.
Welcome back to the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. We're with Gary White, one of the true legends in Australian baseball, a catcher that hit left-handed, and he's second all-time in hits in the Australian Baseball League. And Whitey, you played in both the old ABL and the new ABL, is that right?
Definitely the old ABL, and I don't know what the new one, whether it was like David Nielsen ran it for a while.
Oh, that was that was called International Baseball League.
IBLA or something. Yeah. I mean, I said to you earlier, man, the 90s they were the days of baseball. I mean, the world has changed a lot, obviously. But, we had that, you'd get home from playing on a Sunday morning, like fly in, and then midday on Channel 10, there was an hour of recap of all the games around the league, I mean, it was just great, and we had lots of press in the newspapers, but... it's just the way the world is, and a lot more social media and stuff that now. So hopefully we can get some more going. But
I always say there's been catalysts throughout the history of baseball that give it the up and down roller coaster ride that it's been on. And one of them was Glenn Williams.
Yep.
When Glenn was seen by Atlanta and got signed as the highest paid ever international player at that time, it brought all the other clubs to Australia to cover the National Championship Series. And to be honest, that's why the Cubs hired me, is because of Glenn Williams. A lot of other scouts got an opportunity to come to Australia because Glenn had made that impact. And people wanted to know who's going to be the next Glenn Williams, right?
Yeah.
The next catalyst for me was the ABL,
yeah,
right? When it was at its peak, it really was giving kids a sense of, we have our own league where we can perform. And it's a pretty cool situation.
Well, yeah, and I think... like back then, each team was affiliated with a major league club. So the Sydney team, the Sydney Blues, was affiliated with Toronto Blue Jays. So every year you would get 4 players, 2 pitchers and 2 position players, and usually a coach would come out. And it just worked well. I think Perth had Baltimore Orioles. I can't rattle the other ones off, but the new ABL. I mean, it's gone, and hopefully it's a little bit different this year. But it just, when you would look and you'd look around the league at the games and see how many Australians are actually in the lineup, and not many at all. You'd count them on one hand, and I don't know. It's where the world has changed. Like back then, as we spoke about earlier, Parramatta Stadium, you'd get 9,000-10,000 people. Perth at Parry Field, it was nothing every night, 7,000-8,000 people. And whether they were baseball people, we're still yet to know. But it was attractive, because there was homegrown heroes being built. Where now it seems, the last few years, it just seems like it's a lot import. I mean, yes, we've got to have them, but, I would rather see... I've made this comment, like Sydney started have signed certainly a lot of the college players that have come home, and Australian guys, and, don't know them all personally, but know of them. Like, I would rather... travel from here out to Blacktown knowing that I'm going to see homegrown Australians. And look, even if we got our butts kicked, you're seeing what the future of the players that have come through, or you see their names at AYC championships. I think that would be more, viable for to get support and build those heroes again. But it just hasn't happened for the last few years,
Yeah. 2 other catalysts for me. Little League. When Little League finally came, getting to see kids from Australia playing on that stage in front of 30,000 people live, 2 million people worldwide watching it on TV, and you're on one of those teams and all your mates back at home are watching and witnessing, and they're like, I want to play baseball.
Yeah.
We don't have anything like that here. So I think Little League was a big thing, and there has always been conflict with Little League rules and other baseball type rules.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. But for kids to go to school, and even if it's one little Johnny that got his chance to go and play at the Little League World Series, I mean, that just opens eyes for other kids, parents especially. Look at the opportunity my kid can get if he plays baseball. It might be a minimal chance, but he could get overseas and play. So I think it's been good. As you say, there always is a conflict, but hopefully it'll all get to the bottom and the game will keep moving forward.
A couple other things have been like having Nielsen be an all-star, having Graham Lloyd win World Series. Those things really helped attract people to the game, and they were influences on younger players to want to come through.
Yeah.
There's now been 38 that have been to the big leagues from Australia, so that number needs to grow. The more big leaguers that are from Australia, the better it is for the game here. And maybe Travis is the next one. And let's face it, that number 1 overall pick in the draft was a huge thing for Australian baseball as well.
Oh yeah, people that they know me through baseball and the shop, but that have nothing to do with the game. They would say, "Oh, what's this guy number 1?" And I said, "Well, that's the number 1 overall best player in the world, really, at that time." So, or that's what they were thought of, But again, I think hopefully it shows people and people understand the work that Travis had to do to get there. It just doesn't happen. I think he'd come home. I mean, I remember one year. He was still here playing, and he decided not to go to High Performance New South Wales because he wanted to go and work on his speed. Hats off to him, he went and did it, and but there was a reason. He just didn't say, I don't want to go to High Performance because I've got to travel that far, or whatever the reason might be. He went to work on something else, and he's done that a lot from stories I've heard, and it's certainly paid off, didn't it? So, but yeah, kids just have to understand it's someone else out there. I always say, if you're not doing it, someone else is. So the 1%ers, man. Ted.
Yes.
It's the little things that, and more so these days, I think, someone is always watching. And I only heard a story the other week that the first thing, and you can vouch for this probably, that some of the scouts will do, they'll check out your social media, what you're doing on social media, and, what sort of person you are. And yeah, it's... that's what people here sometimes don't understand. It's a whole package. It's not just what you do on a baseball field. So.
Well, there's the 5 things they look at: running, throwing, fielding, hitting, power hitting. The 6th thing is called makeup.
Yeah.
And that's what's in your head and your heart. And I had one scout say, and in between your legs. Because you got to have a set of those to go out and compete against the world. Because that's what you're doing. If you sign a pro contract, you're one of only like 3,000 that are playing professional baseball in the United States. That's a very small number. So to be one of those guys, you really have to do some work that sets you apart from everyone else.
Yeah, definitely. And that's right. It's the work. It's not, you can't just say, I'm going to spend 30 minutes doing something this afternoon. No, it becomes virtually, obviously schooling is important, but it becomes a full-time job when you're not even at an age to work yet. But you've got to want to do it, and I think you can. There's always time. There's 24 hours in a day. Let's say you sleep for 8. You're at school, there's plenty of other, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, can all add up to an hour and a half, 2 hours in a day, getting stuff done to help you better your game. So.
Well, one of the things I'm doing here now, with my role with the Cronulla Sutherland Junior Baseball Association, is to get to all the clubs so that I have a chance to see all the kids in the association. And from what I see, there's handfuls of kids that have that look in their eye.
Yeah.
That once you've shown them, I believe they're going to do the work. And I always say this, I don't count anyone out, because I don't know who's going to do the work.
No, that's right.
I lay it out for you. Let's see who gets after it. I'm seeing handfuls of kids that I believe over the next year, 2 years, 3 years are going to be that type of player that we're going to be looking for college for. And then the development that happens in college leads to them getting an opportunity to play pro ball. I see it within this association.
Yeah. And I remember when you did it way back when you were first here in the 90s, mate, and yeah, I tell this story. I think you helped put Cronulla baseball on the map just in some of their structures, and they've followed, things have changed a little bit, but they've followed it over the years. So it was definitely time for you to be back here and someone like yourself, but you to be back here and do that, because the kids will benefit, and it's like anything. They have to want to do it to get something out of it, but it worked. And I think I told you a week or so ago, I remember when you'd left, the association got myself and another American that was out here, and we continued to go around to those clubs and do that. And then like life, everything sort of moves on and things get left behind. We'll get to that next year, and they just never did. So it was when I heard that you were coming back to do that, especially in this area, it was really good news. So.
Well, I had a guy on my show recently that has a lot of respect for you, Mark Dollingmore, and he went out and did a ton of those school camps.
He did, that's right.
And he told me that you'd come pick him up and make sure that he got to all of them. And even though he was kind of the middle of the road guy in the ABL, you always encouraged him, and he felt like you wanted him to succeed. And that meant a lot to him, because you were kind of at the highest echelon at that point, and here's Dolly just trying to make a club.
I mean, you don't do it for that reason, but it's always great to hear that you've touched somebody's life, or helped them get to whatever level they could get to, and like what you said. There's no one that you don't want to help. Like if they're willing to put in the time, and who knows, some people blossom at a later age, and I've seen that over the years. But just don't give up on anyone. Just keep chasing your dreams. But like any sport, mate, you got to do the work. That's the thing.
And here we are, both of us been in this game this whole time. And now you got a business that revolves around this game. And what's cool about it, there's a huge amount of people within the Shire that have to buy gear from you. They have to. But because you're one of the only places in all of New South Wales, you get business from everyone. And it's a solid thing. And it revolves around what you know best, baseball.
Yeah, it's like anything, like any job, I suppose. You have your days where you don't really want to be there, but yeah, it's kept me involved in the game. I try and support teams and clubs in any way I can in New South Wales. There's not many stores, even Australia-wide. There's probably only 8 of us Australia-wide. But the way I was brought up is that, look, yes, it's a business. I've got to make a living, got to put food on the table. But whatever I can try to do to help to give back to baseball New South Wales, the local clubs, whatever. I mean, I always try. I've got to remember where you come from. Yeah. Yes, I played for Canterbury, still involved with them, but back when it started when I was 5. But, without Canterbury, and you come back to the governing body, without baseball in New South Wales, there is no Canterbury baseball. So, they've, I don't work for them or anything, but yeah, it's just that I would try and support that as much as I can and get kids just to play the game. It's been a great. You've benefited out of the game and you love the game, and as I say, baseball's been my life. Met my wife through baseball, and everything. So yeah, everything's.
And it was at a school camp.
It was at a school camp, correct? Yeah. Which I didn't want to drive all the way out to, which was way out at the other side, way out past Blacktown, Erskine Park. But yeah, went and 30 years later, 30 years actually was last weekend since we first went out, and we've been married for 22 or something. So.
And Dolly was with you that day because he told me.
That's right, he was.
Whitey met his wife doing these camps.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for that, that the game has kept us pure and wholesome.
Yeah.
We get to help people, and it brings me great joy, as it does you, to see them get better.
Oh yeah, and to see, I'm lucky, when it's pre-season and stuff, you get all the little ones coming in, and they've been watching it on the stuff on the US on TV, and they just seeing the smiles on their face when they get a new little glove or a new little bat. It's just like, you can't pay for that, mate. Like, it's delightful.
And for me, when I get to see them catch the ball for the first time and put the ball in the barrel for the first time, and the way their face lights up, man, that's why I'm doing it. Because it is a grind. But man, I'll tell you, that's what makes me want to do it, Whitey.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's tough, but like any sport, you've got to work hard at it, and you might not have it to start with, but yeah, just keep working at it, and yeah, you'll enjoy it. It's a great game, and plenty of opportunities, and yeah, just I can't speak any more highly of it, mate. So.
He's in the Hall of Fame for the Australian Baseball League. He's won a gold medal in the Intercontental Cup. He was on the 2000 Sydney Olympic team right here in Sydney for Australia. He's represented Australia, New South Wales. He's played in the ABL. Everybody knows Gary White. Whitey, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot Down Under podcast.
Thanks for having us, mate. Always fun to chat.
Thanks for listening to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. I want to thank our special guest host, Ryan Spilborghs, for giving us a complete look at the 2025 MLB World Series from the eyes of a broadcaster who was on the field for the whole thing. Also want to thank one of the greatest players to ever come out of Australia, Gary White. You can listen to the Sandlot every weekend on Sirius XM Radio, MLB Network podcast platform, and on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Pandora, Apple Music, and Simplecast. Please explore the Sandlot Radio Network Facebook and Instagram for video content with the major league players. Also, check out SandlotRadioNetwork.com website for photos and reels from our long history of covering everything from the Sandlot to the big leagues. The Sandlot has been presented by Terra Mar Collective and sponsored by the Sandlot Radio Network, Grit Sports Collective, Guzman E. Gomez, GYG, the best Mexican in Australia, and Freestyle Pool Sydney. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Damn it! Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
Is this heaven?
It's Iowa. Is there a heaven?
Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true.
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
I'd like that.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG.
Crunchy cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life.